I spent most of my 20s thinking that financial success would just happen, that once I hit a certain income level, everything would fall into place, that making more money would automatically solve the problems that came from not having enough of it. And I was wrong about all of it. Here's what nobody prepared me for. The person who earns $100,000 a year and feels broke is not an anomaly. A 2025 Goldman Sachs report found that 40% of households earning $500,000 or more still feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck. $500,000 a year, and they feel like they're barely getting by. That statistic stopped me cold when I first read it, because it reveals something uncomfortable about how money actually works. More income doesn't fix a broken relationship with money, it just amplifies it. By the time you're watching this, you've probably already absorbed decades of money beliefs without realizing it. Messages from parents who said things like, "We can't afford that," or "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Rich people aren't happy." Messages from a culture that taught you to earn money, but never how to grow it, how to spend money, but never how to invest it, how to chase money, but never how to make it work for you. You were taught about surviving, not about thriving. And now you're in your 30s, maybe 40s, wondering why you still feel behind, even though the numbers say you should be fine. I want to share 10 lessons that took me years to learn, and I want you to learn them faster than I did. Because in your 30s, time is still on your side, but not forever. These lessons aren't about becoming a millionaire overnight. They're about building a relationship with money that serves you instead of controls you. Let's get into it. Lesson 1 is that your income matters far more than cutting expenses. I know that sounds counterintuitive, given everything you've heard about budgeting and tracking every penny, but hear me out. The personal savings rate in America right now sits at around 4.5%, according to the Federal Reserve. That means for every $100 people earn, they're saving about $4.50 after taxes. Now, you can absolutely optimize that number by cutting out subscriptions, making coffee at home, bringing lunch to work. And those things aren't worthless. But let's be honest about the math. If you're trying to cut $20 a month from your coffee habit, that's $240 a year. Meanwhile, one successful salary negotiation, one skill upgrade that makes you more valuable, one certification that opens a new job category could add $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 to your annual income. The real leverage in your financial life comes from what you earn, not from what you don't spend. When I was in my 20s, I spent all my energy trying to be more frugal. I should have spent that energy becoming more valuable. Read books that expand your marketable knowledge. Take courses that give you certifications employers care about. Learn skills that companies are desperate to pay for. The mindset shift isn't about ignoring expenses. It's about recognizing that income acceleration beats expense reduction at scale. You can't frugal your way to wealth, but you can absolutely skill your way there. Lesson 2 is that you probably need less money than you think to live the life you actually want. Most of us carry around some arbitrary number in our heads, the number that means we've made it. For some people, it's 200,000. For others, it's 500,000. For others, it's $1 million a year. But these numbers rarely connect to any actual analysis of what we need. Here's an exercise that changed my perspective. Write down exactly what you want to spend monthly in every category to live the lifestyle you genuinely desire. Not the lifestyle you think you should want, not the lifestyle that would impress other people, the one that would actually make you happy. Maybe it's $1,000 a month eating out, $300 on hobbies, $2,700 on rent, a few hundred on travel savings. Add it up. Include savings contributions, let's say 10 or 15%. Calculate the tax burden. For most people, the number that emerges is dramatically lower than the fantasy salary they've been chasing. Someone might dream up a lifestyle that requires $70,000 a year in spending, which at an effective tax rate of maybe 25 to 30% means they need around $100,000 to $125,000 in pre-tax income. Still good money, but nowhere close to the $500,000 they thought they needed to be happy. This isn't about settling, it's about precision. When you know exactly what you need, you stop running toward a vague destination and start working toward a specific target. That specificity changes everything about how you make career decisions, how you negotiate, and how you evaluate opportunities. Lesson 3 is that you won't save what you don't separate. The American savings rate tells us that most people spend what's available. If money lands in your checking account and sits there, your brain categorizes it as spendable. You might intend to save some of it, but intention without structure produces nothing. The solution isn't more willpower, it's better architecture. Warren Buffett put it simply, Don't save what's left after spending. Spend what's left after saving. That means automating before the money ever reaches your spending account. Open a second account. A lot of people call it a freedom fund because the word savings feels boring and sometimes even punitive. Set up automatic transfers to move 10, 15, 20% of every paycheck into that account before you see it. Do the same with retirement contributions. If your employer offers a 401k match, contribute at least enough to capture every dollar of that match. In 2026, the contribution limit for 401k plans is $24,500. If you're 50 or older, you can add another $8,000 in catch-up contributions. If you're between 60 and 63, there's an additional super catch-up of $11,250. The IRA contribution limit rose to $7,500. These aren't small numbers. They represent serious wealth-building capacity that most people leave completely untouched. When savings happen automatically, they become invisible. You adjust to living on what remains. You never feel the loss because you never experience the money as yours to spend. This is how ordinary people build extraordinary wealth over decades, one automated transfer at a time. Lesson 4 is that buying things won't make you rich, but learning about them might. Most people think of money as something to spend, not something to study. They chase the dopamine hit of a new purchase without ever investing time in understanding how money actually works. Research consistently shows that higher financial literacy correlates with lower anxiety, higher savings rates, and better life outcomes. Yet most adults can't explain compound interest, don't understand how their own tax bracket works, and have never calculated the true cost of carrying credit card debt. Warren Buffett said, "The more you learn, the more you earn." Your money grows when your brain grows first. Instead of scrolling for another 30 minutes tonight, spend 10 minutes reading about a financial concept you don't fully understand. Compound interest, dollar cost averaging, tax-advantaged accounts, asset allocation, inflation hedging. Swap one scroll for one financial insight and watch how that knowledge compounds over time, just like the money itself. The greatest investment you can make in your 30s isn't in any particular stock or fund. It's in your own financial education. Every dollar you spend on experiences that make you financially smarter pays dividends for the rest of your life. Lesson 5 is that experiences will outlast your possessions in memory and meaning. I've bought a lot of material items, nice watches, expensive jackets, the latest technology. And while they were nice to have in the moment, the things I look back on with genuine warmth are almost always experiences. The trip I took with friends, the concert where something unexpected happened, the dinner that lasted 4 hours because the conversation was that good. Psychological research has consistently found that people derive more lasting satisfaction from experiential purchases than from material ones. Part of this is about anticipation. You can look forward to an experience for months before it happens, whereas material goods often arrive and then simply exist. Part of it is about memory. Experiences grow richer in retrospect as you retell them and integrate them into your identity, while objects depreciate both financially and emotionally. Part of it is about connection. Experiences shared with others create bonds and stories that persist for years. This doesn't mean you should never buy material things, but when you're deciding where discretionary money should go, ask yourself which purchase will matter to you in 10 years. The answer is almost always the experience. At 65, you won't remember the wallet you bought in your 30s, but you'll remember the trip where everything went wrong and somehow turned into the best story of your life. Lesson 6 is that your relationship with money is probably inherited, and you can change it. Psychologists who study what they call money scripts have found that most of our financial beliefs aren't actually ours. We absorb them unconsciously from parents, from culture, from early experiences we barely remember. Maybe you grew up hearing that money is hard to come by, that rich people are greedy, that you shouldn't talk about finances, that wanting more is selfish. These messages became your programming, and that programming drives your behavior whether you're aware of it or not. Write down 3 money beliefs you heard growing up, whatever phrases come to mind. Then ask yourself, do these still serve me? Because here's what's true. Money isn't evil. The actual saying is that the love of money is the root of evil, meaning the obsession, the worship, the placing of money above everything else. Money itself is just energy, a resource, a tool. Your relationship with it can be anxious, where you constantly worry whether you have enough. It can be avoidant, where you refuse to look at your accounts or think about the future. Or it can be secure, where you feel safe engaging with financial topics, where you look at your numbers without shame or fear. Transforming your relationship with money from anxious or avoidant to secure isn't about becoming rich. It's about changing how you relate to money at every income level. It's about replacing guilt with clarity, shame with strategy, scarcity with intention. And it starts by recognizing that your current beliefs are optional. You can choose new ones. Lesson 7 is that depreciating assets purchased with debt will silently destroy your wealth. The most common example is buying a new car. But in 2026, you can finance almost anything. Take out food with buy now, pay later programs, clothing on credit, furniture, vacations, electronics, all depreciating assets, all available for purchase with debt that carries interest. Here's how the math actually works. You buy a $50,000 car with a loan. On day one, your net worth hasn't changed much because you have an asset roughly equal to the debt. But after 1 year, that car has lost approximately 20% of its value to depreciation. It's now worth $40,000, but you still owe most of the original loan. Your net worth just dropped by $10,000. Then you've paid perhaps $2,000 to $3,000 in interest on top of that. So you've spent $12,000 in a single year for zero net worth gain. You paid money to lose money. The financially wise approach is to buy used cars that have already absorbed their initial depreciation hit, ideally with cash rather than debt. Obviously, circumstances vary. If the only car you can afford is a $3,000 vehicle that will cost more in repairs than it's worth, a modest loan on a more reliable car might make sense. But the general principle holds. Avoid taking on debt to purchase things that are worth less tomorrow than they are today. It's the single fastest way to ensure that income increases never translate into wealth increases. Lesson 8 is that peace of mind has financial value even though it doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. Let's say you have a car loan at around 7% interest, and you know that historically the stock market has returned roughly 10% annually. Mathematically, investing the money instead of paying off the car loan might net you about 3% more per year. On a $28,000 loan, that's maybe $800 annually. But here's what that math ignores. How often do you think about that car loan? If the answer is daily, that's a cost. Does the loan prevent you from taking risks or pursuing opportunities because you feel burdened by the debt? That's a cost. Does market volatility stress you out, making the theoretical returns feel uncertain while the guaranteed interest on your debt is certain? That's a cost. For many people, the peace of mind from being debt-free is worth far more than the theoretical mathematical difference. The $800 gap might actually cost you thousands in lost opportunities you didn't pursue because you felt financially constrained. It might cost you in stress that affects your sleep, your health, your relationships, your work performance. Financial decisions aren't purely mathematical. They're psychological. Sometimes, paying off a debt that you could theoretically earn more by investing against is still the right move because of what it does for your mental state. Don't underestimate the value of going to bed without financial anxiety. Lesson 9 is that you're not lazy, you're overwhelmed. We blame ourselves for being bad with money. We assume it's a character flaw, a lack of discipline, a failure of willpower. But often the real problem isn't laziness, it's decision fatigue. Modern financial life requires hundreds of small decisions that drain cognitive resources. Should I buy this? Should I save that? Should I invest here? Should I cancel this subscription? Each micro decision depletes willpower, and when willpower runs out, we default to avoidance or impulsive choices. The solution isn't to try harder, it's to simplify radically. Pick one financial goal for the next 30 days, not 5 goals. 1. Maybe it's building your emergency fund to a specific number. Maybe it's paying off one credit card. Maybe it's setting up automated investing. Focus only on that. Track only that. Let everything else continue on autopilot while you direct your limited decision-making energy toward a single target. The people who successfully build wealth don't have superhuman discipline. They have systems that reduce the number of decisions required. Automation removes choice. Simplicity reduces cognitive load. And when you're not exhausted from 1,000 small financial decisions, you have energy for the big ones that actually matter. Lesson 10 is that generosity expands rather than diminishes your relationship with money. This might sound counterintuitive when we're talking about building wealth, but psychology consistently shows that intentional giving improves well-being, optimism, and even financial motivation. People who give, even small amounts, tend to feel more abundant than people who hoard everything out of fear. When you hold money with a closed fist, terrified of losing it, you create a relationship built on scarcity and anxiety. When you hold money with an open hand, giving strategically while also building wealth, you create a relationship built on flow and possibility. This doesn't mean giving away money you can't afford to lose. It means recognizing that generosity is part of a healthy financial life, not the opposite of it. There's a famous Drake lyric, "I like when money makes a difference but doesn't make you different." That's the balance. Money that enables you to help others, support causes you believe in, and contribute to your community isn't money wasted. It's money that maintains your humanity while you build financial security. And research suggests that giving actually makes people more productive and motivated to earn more, creating a virtuous cycle rather than a drain. If these 10 lessons share anything in common, it's this. Your relationship with money determines whether wealth building feels like a prison sentence or an adventure. The people who succeed financially aren't necessarily smarter or luckier. They've just developed a healthier, more intentional relationship with what money is and what it's for. Right now, the median emergency savings for Americans is around $600, according to Empower's research. Nearly 1 in 4 Americans have no emergency savings at all. More than half say they couldn't cover an unexpected $1,000 expense. These statistics describe people who are avoiding money rather than engaging with it, who feel anxious or overwhelmed rather than secure, who never learned these lessons or learn them too late. You don't have to be one of them. The wealthiest people aren't always the ones who made the most money. They're the ones who built the best relationship with money, who stopped avoiding it and started learning it, who automated their success so it didn't require daily willpower, who understood that more income amplifies whatever relationship you already have, so they fix the relationship first. In your 30s, you still have decades of compounding ahead of you. Every dollar invested now has time to multiply. Every habit established now becomes the foundation for what follows. Every lesson learned now saves you from mistakes that would have cost far more later. Start with just one of these shifts today. Not all 10, one. Pick the lesson that felt most relevant to where you are right now and implement it this week. Then come back for another. Build slowly, because that's how real change works. The goal isn't to look rich, it's to stop worrying about money entirely. To reach a place where financial decisions feel calm rather than frantic, where you know your numbers without fear, where your money works for your life instead of the other way around. That's what I wish someone had told me in my 30s. Now you know.